Bienvenidos amigos y amigas de purorockradio.com. Estamos acá con otra entrevista más y esta vez con el grupo finlandés Amoral. Tenemos al señor Ben Varon, que es el guitarrista y uno de los fundadores de la banda, que nos va a estar hablando de la misma, la historia de la banda, la discografía, su último disco Beneath, los cambios que ha habido en la banda y las repercusiones que estas han tenido. Así que va a ser una entrevista muy interesante. Ben, how you doing?
All good, thank you very much. It's a cold Sunday here in Helsinki, and just played a show here in Helsinki yesterday with Amoral, which was fantastic. Lots of people had a good time. Played a few of new songs that we've never played before, so it was fun.
Man, it's great to have you, Ben, aboard. Now, Ben, let's jump right into the history of Amoral because a lot of South American fans may not have heard of the band, and this is like a tale of two bands almost. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely. Now, the band started back in, I think your first demo was in 2001 with Desolation.
I think so. Yeah.
And then the other Flash demo came out, and then the second demo came out.
Yeah,
And
like
finally,
1 year apart, I think. Just kept writing new songs, like honing our skills, like looking for our sound, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we did a couple of demos before we got signed to Rage of Achilles in 2003, I think.
yeah, it was actually 2004 when the Wound Creations came out, and then you guys moved on to Spine Farm, which made sense.
Yeah.
And you put out a couple of albums. You put out the Crowning album, and then the album which I got to know you first, which was Reptile Ride. And but this was a band that's completely different from what the other two albums brought. What was the train of thought during the first years of the band, and then we'll jump right into the Show Your Colors thing.
Train of thought is pretty much still the same as it was 10 years ago, just write whatever comes from your heart, and if you enjoy it and your band members enjoy it, then just keep doing that. Back when we were 19, 18, 20 years old, stuff like that, we were really into the whole Morbid Angel, Opeth, the heavier side of Opeth, kind of progressive, technical death metal style, which of course went really well with the singer we had back in the day, because he was a killer growler, but not so much of a singer back then. So that's what we did, we played that kind of music. We still weren't the perfect songwriters, so it was more like a riff after riff for the first few albums. I think Reptile Ride was starting to be really cool, because we took some melodic elements into it. It was more about songwriting, not just the riffs and putting parts together. But yeah, so it's always been from the first album, just play whatever you feel like without thinking about the genre beforehand. And it's actually the very same thing when the singer actually changed. We just continued writing songs, same kind of thing we always did, just it became more natural to do more melodic stuff with Ari on board. So
I see. And the Reptile Ride also was the beginning, I think. I mean, I like the cover of the album. It reminds me somehow of Night Ranger's Seven Wishes, just because of the bomber.
Yeah.
but I like the progression graphic wise on that album. And then, of course, came the Show Your Colors album. Before that, you put out the single "The Year of the Sucker Punch," which is actually how I got to know you guys. I saw the video, and I thought, wow, cool. This band, this sounds great. What a great track. I'm a big AOR hard rock fan, so. It made sense. It just grabbed me. But Show Your Colors came out, and of course there was a backlash from the old fans that couldn't take the new sound. And I mean, how was the whole reaction when Show Your Colors came out? Ari came on board. This guy had won a contest in Finland. Famous, like American Idol version of Finland.
Yeah.
And now he's with you. Was this a turmoil time for the band? Can you tell us what went through in those years, 2009?
Well, yeah, it was definitely hard for a while. We knew already we're thinking about different singers, listening to demos, and really there was nobody really that potential, at least not from Finland. We got some interesting options from other countries, but it just could not make sense with a band this size. We don't have money to fly people over from the States, for a band rehearsal. So it had to be somebody from close by that we can actually work with and who sounded good. And we just kept getting these growlers sending their demos in. And even though we made it very clear in our ad, like looking for a singer, first and foremost, we want somebody who can sing melodically and like rip your head off with his voice. So then Ari came to me at one of the shows. We already knew him. He was a fan of the band. He has been to some of our shows, after parties, stuff like that. So he came to me at one show and was like, "Hey, I heard you guys are gonna change singers. How about me? You know, I'd like to try." Like, "Oh, are you serious?" Because at the moment he was very famous with the whole Idols thing that he won, and he had his own band and he was doing great. So, but yeah, he kept texting me. I'm like, "Okay, this guy's serious," and we gave it a shot, and he just nailed it. All the old stuff, nailed it on the first rehearsal time. We did it with him. Then I gave him some new songs to try out, and it made sense, you know. He sounded good. The songs were asking for his kind of voice, and then the band just had to sit down and think about it. Like, okay, this might be serious that he will be in the band. So, are we ready to face the shitstorm that's gonna hit us once this public? Because we know how the metal scene is. Even though there's a lot of cool people in there with open mind, and there's also a lot of close-mindedness within this kind of music genre. I think with any music genre, with the hardcore fans, many of them don't like changes at all. So, yeah, we took a risk, and we knew we were going to lose tons of fans, because everybody who heard about it first were like, "Oh my God, you're going to be so huge immediately when you announce this." I'm like, "No, we won't, because we're going to lose a bunch of fans. We're going to have to start over pretty much." So, and that's what happened. We lost a bunch of people. We made some new fans, but for example, not all of Ari's fans jump on board with Amoral. This was a bit too heavy for some of them. They enjoyed his solo stuff more, so it wasn't really a quick lottery win at all. But it was worth it, because we got a great singer and a friend out of it, and we believe in what we're doing. So it really wasn't like a quick success kind of money grab at all for us.
I know. I think it was a good choice to putting out Sucker Punch as the single, because it's really it's a great hard rock song. It really is. Even if you take the heaviness out, the song is just a great hard rock song, and it grabs you right away. And I read that it was very successful back in Finland. I mean, in the radio stations and stuff. Yeah,
it actually did really good in the radio here. So that was cool to see. Even though now in hindsight we're like, well, maybe we should have released like even as an internet single something a bit heavier from the album. Because I understand if you heard Reptile Ride and then you hear Sucker Punch for the first time, it's like, what the hell are these guys doing? So it was a bit of a shock to put like the poppiest song first, but it worked for the radio for sure, but maybe not so much for the old fans.
Well, now 2 years later, you guys decided to put out last year. It's Beneath, and the cool thing is now it's with Spinefarm you got worldwide distribution. It's on iTunes, and this album's a little bit.
This album's not on Spinefarm anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Our contract with Spine ended with Show Your Colors. So this one, we self-financed the master. We did the whole album ourselves and then shopped it around. And it's out. Like, we have a label in the States called The End. And then in Japan, we have Marquee Avalon. And here in Finland, we released it ourselves on our Imperial cassette label. So it's not on Spinefarm at all.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for clarifying. I was reading on a website it was on Spinefarm.
Yeah, a lot of websites say that it's on Spine. I don't know why it is, because it doesn't say anywhere that it is on Spine. But it's no big deal. Just, get the facts straight.
No, and that's good. Get the facts straight is always important, and that's why we do interviews, you guys, so we can hear from the horse's mouth. But Beneath came out, and it's a more ambitious album than Show Your Colors, definitely. Even you started off with the title track, and the title track is very ambitious, 8 minutes, and it really twists around. It's a very progressive track. It goes all over the place. It really has a lot of things. It's got soft stuff, dynamically moves around, tempo-wise, it also changes around. were you thinking, whoa, maybe we're going a little bit too ambitious if we put this track as the first track of the album, or how did that set list, the track listing came about?
Well, we were talking about it because the first thing that comes to your mind when you write something like that is, of course, this is the last song on the album. Like, that's the usual place for a metal band to put the big, ambitious track. That's the closing song, and that's it. But then I started thinking, like, well, it already has this cool intro. And I really liked what Nightwish did with their previous album when they started with a big song. I thought that was really cool and brave to try something new. So I kind of lifted that idea, and then I presented to the band, like, what do you guys think if we just open with this one? Because it goes through all these cool moods, and it already has this beautiful intro to take you into the album. And I'm just picturing it, if like I was the listener, I would get this album in my hands and put it on, just open the album cover sleeve, just look at the artwork, get myself into the mindset of the album, and just stare at the picture and go into the song. And that song is the perfect way to get into the whole album. It really takes you through a ride within the song already. I think it was a good choice.
I mean, it's an interesting choice, definitely. And now that you mentioned the artwork, that's an important thing. Who did the artwork for this one? Because I like it much better than the previous artwork.
Yeah, this one we actually found through the guy who handles our merchandise. He knew this great artist from Spain. She's called Marta Nael, and he hooked us up with her. And because I saw some of her drawings and paintings, like, that's exactly the style we're going for with this idea that we had for the picture. So she really nailed it. It looks exactly like I had it in my mind when I started to describe it for her. It's amazing. Yeah,
it's a really cool artwork. It really brings a little bit. It's a more mature album artwork if you look at it. It really is. So the first half of the album I really like. I have to admit that I feel the album has two parts, because beneath wrapped Silhouette, which is the first single, by the way. I don't know if this is correct. Is this the first single, Silhouette?
Well, actually, we released Same Difference on iTunes.
Oh, okay.
Like before the album came out, but Silhouette is the first official single that is actually, we had a video made for it and sent it out to radio. So I guess it's the second single. I'm not even sure.
Oh, label stuff. That's crazy. Yeah, well, Silhouette, I like the song, but for me, the album picks up after Won't Go Home. Now, Won't Go Home is an interesting track because it's got the rough vocals on it.
Yeah.
So it caught me off guard. Why you guys decided to do that track? I mean, I don't know.
Well, this time, because with Show Your Colors, we're just so excited about having Ari on board and with the melodic vocals for the first time in the band's history. So we just did everything with clean vocals, like really want to take a step away from what we used to do. Because to be honest, I was getting really bored with just screaming, because it doesn't really go anywhere. You can't take the song anywhere melodically if you don't have a melodic singer. I thought so, at least. So I was very happy to actually be able to write some vocal melodies for Ari to sing. But this time I just heard, like, Won't Go Home, the song itself was so melodic, especially the chorus, that I thought it would be just a bit too sweet if it also had a melodic singing part on top of it. So we just tried it out with growling, and it felt good. And this time didn't have any rules, like there's gonna be growling, there's not gonna be growling. We just listened to the track and decided after that if what we felt was good for it.
Yeah, I really, I thought that caught me off guard. I thought that was pretty good. Then the album picks up for me from Closure then on. Closure is an interesting track. It's it starts like a slow ballad, and then it just gets a little bit heavier as it moves along. And I've noticed, Ben, that a lot of your tracks have a similar structure. For example, even the last track of Silent Stairs and Fire Lost, this track is so progressive. It really goes all over the place again. It makes it a little bit, I don't know, it's interesting because you guys have very accessible songs, but then you guys have also this progressive feel to the songs, not in the progressive per se, but in the structure. It's all over the place. It really has a lot of dynamics going.
Yeah, because many of the guys in the band really like both sides, both ends of the extreme. We really like songs like Wrapped in Barbed Wire, just 2.5, 3 minutes of punk rock attitude, just, smashing out chords and running for it. And then we also love to do the 8-minute, 7-minute epic tracks that goes through tempo changes and moods and acoustic stuff. And so I don't see why a band should be either this or either that. You don't have to be all Blink-182 or full-blown Dream Theater. I think you can be something in between as well. Just mix everything we love about metal and rock music in general and just try to make it a mix that works well together. So that's what we try to do with this album. You have the straightforward 3-4 minute pop songs, hard rock songs, and the progressive stuff, which makes the album more interesting to listen to. Because let's face it, if it was just 12 songs of silhouettes or sucker punches, then it wouldn't be as interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, and that's one of the things that I think it's a side effect of, marketing. I mean, the labels have to market their products somehow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, music gets tagged. And, you want to tell somebody, hey, you want to listen to Amoral? Yeah, I mean, how can you describe it?
I don't know.
That's... You pick up the album and listen to it, and you tell me.
We just call it, because at the studio we start to joke around, because all these bands that could do whatever they want back in the 70s, like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and Queen, bands that have everything from reggae songs to hard rock and metal songs and ballads and whatever they wanted to do, folk influences, they're all labeled as classic rock these days. So we're like, well, we're just going to call ourselves the classic rock of the 21st century, and that's it.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw it on the website. And I thought it was a cool idea, but I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, so. Well, that's the story of it. Because when you think about classic rock bands, those bands really could do whatever the hell they wanted from album to album. They just went all over the place. If you think about Led Zeppelin, for example, they have all kinds of material, which I really think is cool. So we wanted to do the same thing. And especially these days if you put an album out once every 2 years, that's 24 months for people to listen to it, and we wanted to put a long album out, a lot of songs, a lot of different type of material, so it would keep your appetite filled for until the next album, not just a Rain in Blood 28 minutes of here it starts and it's already ended by the time you realize it's over, and you're like, well, what next? You can only listen to it so many times a day. So this way you have a lot of songs, you can make playlists. That's a big thing these days. People don't really have time to sit down, unfortunately, every day to listen to a 70-minute album, for example. So you can just cherry pick whatever kind of mood you're in. You can put on Closure and Wastelands if you're feeling you want to take it easy, or you can put Wrapped in Barbed Wire and Won't Go Home if you feel like rocking it out. Or you can just put your headphones on and go for the whole 60 minutes, the whole experience.
That's right. And, it's now with the digital age, it even becomes more intense in that sense, that everybody just picks one or two songs or buys one or two songs that they like, and they don't buy the rest of the album.
I know.
And it happens that way. Touring-wise, what have you guys been up to, so far for the album?
So far, this album, we only toured here in Finland for now. We're going to try our feet in the US for the first time in like a month and a half. We're going to go to the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Which should be pretty cool. Everybody's saying that it's a pretty important festival and event where there's a lot of people watching the shows, and you can just try to get your feet through the door and make some contacts, and so that should be pretty cool. And then there's all kinds of talk about touring in some Asian dates perhaps this year, and we're trying to book a full-blown US tour for the first time, also for 2012. But that remains to be seen. There's so many changing aspects to touring that until I actually have the flight tickets in my hand, I'm not going to announce anything.
I was talking to some other bands, and it's interesting because from the fans' perspective, the world of the rock musician, and I mean not just metal, I mean rock musician all over the place, it's not as glamorous as people think. You really gotta love what you're doing, because only a few people are getting rich, and and those few can be counted with the fingers in your hand. So So it's interesting that you mentioned that. How has the response for the band been in Finland so far? I mean, nationwide, you guys are okay?
Yeah. The reviews for this one have been really cool. I was really surprised because we knew that this album is, by today's standards, it's for one, it's too long for today's standards. B, it's all over the place if you compare it to a lot of other metal releases, which are very strict genre albums. So we were like, well, I don't know if this is gonna go down that well with magazines and stuff, but we got a lot of 4 out of 5s, 4.5 out of 5. So that felt really good that they actually got what we're doing. And a lot of them said like, well, finally, here's an Amoral album that sounds like an Amoral album. Like these guys finally found a path that they should really hold on to, which was really cool to hear. And also the fans who enjoyed the last one, I haven't heard anybody say that they like the previous one better. Everybody loves this one more. So that makes us feel really proud that we did something right, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Any plans for a European tour?
There are plans. We actually don't have a proper European release outside of Finland at the moment. So we're talking with some labels of maybe putting it out in Europe later this year. But again, nothing's confirmed yet. So I don't know if it makes sense to go tour Europe before the album's actually there in the shelves of the album stores, CD stores. So if there is such a thing anymore, I don't know.
Well, I was going to ask you, compositionally wise, how does that work? Did you come up with a riff, bring it to the rehearsals? Everybody brings their own ideas. How does a usual Amoral album is put together?
Well, it's changed a bit for this one because we also changed guitar players between the albums. So the 4 previous albums, especially the first 3 ones, not so much Show Your Colors, which was more I had to do it by myself because the other guy was kind of absent. This one, I wrote the material, most of it. Like I had the idea for the whole song before I presented it to the band, and this time I kind of went with the rough sketch or a demo to the drummer, played it for him a few times, like this is the idea, maybe something like this, something like that. We played it together, just the 2 of us, tried it out and made a rough sketch of the song, and then showed it to the rest of the guys and started working on vocal melodies, stuff like that. And of course we got the new guitar player, Masi Hukari, to join us just in the last minute, a few months before the studio. And learned all the songs. Not only that, he brought 2 songs to the table, like 2 song ideas, which we finished together. And both of them were so cool that we made room on the album. We pushed 2 of my songs out of the way to be bonus tracks to get his songs on there because they were just too good to miss. So, but yeah, we're not really a jamming band. We're not like Pantera or Red Hot Chili Peppers that we just go with a riff to the practice room and start winging. Because the music, I think, this kind of music, you have to really sit down and think about it and go through it over and over and over again and try different things and take your time. So we've noticed we're not the jamming type.
Yeah, well, there's I don't think there's a formula for making rock music or anything in life. I mean, there's so many ways you can achieve things, taking different paths, and some people it works jamming, some other people it works sitting down and working things out, So, I mean, in that sense, I agree with you. What is the state of, this is a question that I asked in my last interview, but what is the state of metal right now? What do you think as a genre? Do we need to open up more? Are we too close-minded? What's going on with the metalhead these days?
There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff I really don't understand. I really start feeling old when I look at all this metalcore and, the out-tuned, what do you call these emo bands that, the attacks and what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm too old for this shit, seriously. But then again, we have bands like Mastodon who are just so cool. They keep progressing with every album and pushing their own boundaries. And so that's really inspiring for me, for example. Just seeing them, even though they're already popular and they're getting all the praise, but they still feel hungry and keep pushing themselves, which is what we're trying to do. Just keep moving on and try to top ourselves with every album. But there's a bunch of bands. But to be honest, most of the stuff I listen to is... I keep finding like old classics that I have missed in the past, like stuff from the 70s, from the 80s, all kind of cool stuff. There's so much cool music,
Yeah, there really is, and and the thing is that that now that you mentioned that, it is true. I mean, a lot of new fans, I can understand them. All this music comes from a certain background, and it's usually rooted in the 70s and 80s, and it's not like a spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
Whoops, this is Amoral right here. It just came out of the blue. It doesn't work that way, and I agree with you. There's some great stuff in classic. I hate calling it classic. It's just good good rock music like in the 70s, and also rock and metal in the 80s that it was really great. It was really great and influenced a lot of people, and you can't deny it. I always give the same example to a friend of mine that says, well, you like to listen to old Van Halen, I said, look, man, that first record, it was released in '78, but it's got so much fire, man. I rarely get to hear bands like that anymore.
I know.
What does the future have for Amoral? I mean, do you picture yourself doing this for the rest of your life?
Well, I really, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. So I love the band. I love writing music. I love playing live. So I really enjoy the whole package. So I hope it's not ending anytime soon. For now, we're gonna keep promoting this one. We really believe in this album. We're not in a hurry to make a new one. We just wanna get this released in as many parts of the world as possible, tour in as many countries as possible, and talk to as many people as possible to make sure that people check this album out and give it a chance. Because I think it's definitely something that a lot of people, a big portion of the world's people, could enjoy if they get to hear it.
Yeah,
that's the main focus at the moment.
Definitely, and it's one of the things. There's so many good stuff coming out, but the problem is getting it out there, for people to hear it. And well, we try to do our part here.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
For South America, at least, and the Latin countries. Well, Ben, thank you so much for the time. Really, it was great talking to you. We'll try to help you out as much as we can. I like the album a lot. I think it's got great songs in it, and
Thank you.
I like the change of direction of the band. And if you guys believe in that, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. That's the important thing.
Beautiful.
All right, great. So I'll let you go. I'll just ask you to stay for a minute to do a promo. Wish you the best, man. You guys have a great 2012 and beyond.
You too. Thank you very much.